I met Daniel Carter in 2014 at a fraternity party at Penn State. He had kind eyes and a booming laugh, the kind of guy who made people want to be around him. When we started dating, Daniel joked that he was the last legacy of the Carter family. I thought it was a family joke. It wasn't until I walked into their house for the first time that I understood that no joke. The old federal house in Clearview, Pennsylvania, is full of portraits of men on the walls: Daniel Sr., Daniel Jr., Daniel III, and finally Daniel IV, my husband. Each generation wore the same suit, had the same haircut, and stood in front of the fireplace with a hunting rifle hanging on the wall. It felt like I was walking into a family museum. Margaret Carter, my mother-in-law, is a small but sharp woman. When she first met me, she shook my hand as if she were assessing the hardness of my bones. She looked me up and down, then simply said, "Well, at least it looks good." I tried to smile, not knowing how to respond. Daniel explained that she was just a traditional person and loved her family very much. I shrugged. I loved Daniel, and that was enough. At the time, I naively thought love was enough to overcome anything. Our wedding day took place on a cool May afternoon. The wedding was a fairy tale on a farm outside Scranton. Daniel looked at me in my wedding dress like I was the world's last miracle. But the dream ended in the very last hour. As we said goodbye to everyone to leave for our honeymoon, Margaret hugged me and whispered in my ear, her voice steady as if giving an order. "Give our family a Daniel Carter Phi." I froze for a few seconds, then forced a smile. Yes. On the way to the car, I told Daniel. He laughed and said Mom was always a little over the top but was actually very happy. I nodded, trying to ignore the chill that ran down my spine. 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. The good news came with mixed emotions. I was excited, happy, and worried. Daniel hugged me and said, "I hope it's a boy to make Mom happy." I said, "I just need the baby to be healthy, that's enough." And then the 16-week ultrasound is a girl. Daniel was silent for a few seconds. Then he laughed. "First daughter in over a century. I think that's special." I squeezed his hand, the girl who broke the Carter curse. When Daniel announced his gender to his family, no one believes. "No way," Margaret said. "The ultrasound doctor must have made a mistake. Or wait until birth to know?" Even Philip, my father-in-law, shook his head and laughed. "Daniel is Carter." The Carter family doesn't have daughters. I wanted to argue, to scream that gender wasn't traditional, wasn't a given title. But I swallowed it. I just wanted to keep the peace. I didn't know I was entering a war that I never selected to participate in. Avery Carter was born on a cold winter night. The baby girl weighs nearly 3.2 kilograms, has big eyes, brown hair, and is a mini version of Daniel. Daniel held his child for the first time, tears falling silently. I didn't know I could love someone this much. I believe it. But Margaret did not. She stood looking at her grandson without shedding a tear. "Not like Daniel at all. Is that your mother's nose? She seems different." Every sentence is a stab. I was silent, not because I didn't see, but because I thought, they'll love their child. That when she saw Avery smile, toddle, call Grandma, her heart would soften. I was wrong. Dear Avery, if you ever wonder why your father's side of the family isn't in pictures often, I want you to know that it's not your fault. You are never wrong. You are the light. They don't hate you because you did something wrong. They hate you because you're not what they wanted you to be. And I'll never let you grow up thinking it's your fault. The following fall, I found out I was pregnant for the second time. The emotions were the same as the first. Trembling, excitement, joy filling my chest. But along with that came fear. I learned something after becoming a first-time mom. Sometimes your joy is someone else's slap in the face. For Margaret, every smile from Avery was a reminder that the Carter legacy was no longer intact. I knew this pregnancy wouldn't be easy. I even wish it's a boy, not because I believe in that tradition, but because I'm tired. Tired of having to fend off suspicious looks, tiny but stinging sarcasm. Week 15. We went for an ultrasound when the doctor turned the screen and smiled. "Congratulations, it's a girl again." Daniel held my hand tightly. His face did not change color, he just nodded slightly. When I got in the car, I whispered, "Don't tell your mother. Please, at least wait a few more weeks." Daniel hesitated. "We can't hide it forever." I turned to him, eyes filled with tears. "Just a few weeks. I want a peaceful pregnancy, without being cursed at, without being suspected, without being seen as a traitor." He nodded. "Okay." Just a week later, I knew he had said it. Daniel returned from his parents' house, his eyes filled with confusion. I could tell at a glance. "I told you, right?" Mom asked. "And you can't lie." I was silent, turned away, didn't cry. I've cried too much since becoming a first-time mother. 3 days later, Margaret came to our house without notice. I was playing with Avery when she came in like a cold wind. She looked at me, then at my belly. "It's a girl again." Her tone was not a question, but rather sentence. "You're fine. That's good," I said softly, pulling Avery into my arms. Margaret took another step. "Do you know this family hasn't had a daughter in over a century?" I let the first one go. I said nothing when Daniel named her Avery, not Danielle. But this second one, I'm not stupid. Daniel walked out of the kitchen just then. "Mom, stop." Margaret turned to him. "You think you're the father of 2 daughters? Number Carter didn't have daughters. She betrayed you." I stood up, Avery clutching my skirt. "Get out of my house," I said. For the first time, I speak up like that in front of her. "You have no right to fire me," Margaret shouted. Daniel pulled his mother out. "Don't ever come back here if you doubt my wife." We cut off contact completely. I blocked Margaret's number. Daniel reluctantly did too. Phil never called, just sent one text. "Your mother is stubborn, but she is still your mother. Try not to let this tear the family apart." I did not answer. As time passed, my belly grew bigger. Avery started calling the baby Luna. It was an unexpected name, but I liked the way it sounded on her lips. Daniel became quieter. He still took care of me, still read stories to Avery every night, but his eyes were sometimes distant. I asked, "Do you trust me?" He replied, "I believe you, but my mother, she was right about so many things. I just wish, if only what? If only we didn't have to deal with her like that." Dear Luna, your name is not a Roman numeral, not a burden of tradition. It is the moonlight, gentle, bright, and free. At the end of August, Margaret called back. From an unknown number. Daniel listened. She cried. She said she missed her son, missed her grandchildren. After a week of struggling, I agreed. "We'll go to dinner, just once. And if you don't apologize, I'm leaving, and this time for good." Daniel nodded. We left Avery with my sister and entered the Carter house for the last time. It was raining lightly that evening, and the Carter family home was lit up as if trying to appear cozy. But to me, it was a false light that revealed the rot within. I walked in with my raincoat soaked, my hand still reflexively on my belly. Luna was kicking gently inside. Daniel walked beside me, silent. Philip met us at the door, tried to smile. "Thanks for coming. Margaret is in the kitchen." I didn't answer. Daniel nodded, politely. We sat at the table. The food was well prepared: roasted meat, roasted vegetables, and the cornbread Margaret knew I liked. The aroma filled the kitchen, but I couldn't swallow it. Margaret stepped out. She didn't look at me, didn't say anything, just sat down, picked up her knife and fork, and cut her food. Dinner was a heavy silence, broken only by the clatter of knives and spoons. Daniel took a sip of water, then set his glass down with a resolute clack. "Mom," he said, "this is all too much. I know that. I owe Emily an apology." Margaret put her knife down on her plate, gently wiping her mouth with her napkin. She looked at Daniel, then smiled faintly. "So, have you had a DNA test yet?" I looked up. "What?" I asked, almost not believing my ears. Daniel was stunned. "Mom, what do you mean?" "I mean, if she insists those 2 kids are yours, then show me the proof. I won't apologize until I'm wrong. And I'm not wrong." I jumped up, the chair pushed back with a creak. I grabbed my bag. "I don't need to hear this." Margaret also jumped up, rounded the table faster than I expected, and grabbed my shirt. "Don't even think about running. You're a bitch. You've disgraced my family, and now you want to run away like nothing happened?" Daniel rushed forward. "Get off!" He pushed my mother's hand away and helped me step back. Margaret slapped me in the face. The shrill sound silenced the room. I let out a scream of surprise and pain. My hand covered my cheek, the other unconsciously clutching my stomach. "Call the police," Daniel said to Philip. Philip stammered, "We can handle this at home." "Call the police, now!" Daniel screamed. I had turned away, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my phone in my pocket, when Margaret, frantic, snatched a porcelain snow globe from the shelf and threw it at me. I did not have time to avoid it. It hit the back of my head. I fell to my knees. Blood ran down my collar. All sound was muffled, only the sound of my pulse pounding in my ears. Daniel shouted. Philip stood frozen. Margaret reached for something else, a picture frame, then a vase of flowers. I was kneeling, one hand holding my head, the other holding my stomach like a hopeless shield. Already she kicked me straight in the stomach. 1, 2, I shouted. Daniel pushed her into the shelf. I heard something break. Margaret groaned. Daniel picked me up and pulled me out the door, despite the cold rain outside. I cried and shouted, "She kicked me in the stomach. She wanted to kill my baby." In the car, blood was still flowing. We got to the hospital. They took me to the emergency room. I heard Daniel arguing with the nurse. A policeman showed up. I got 6 stitches behind my head and 4 days of fetal monitoring. Luckily, Luna was fine, small, resilient, just like Avery had always been. Margaret Carter was arrested the next day. She claimed that Daniel and I broke into the house to demand free food. She made up a story that she was attacked first. Philip even called an ambulance for her after Daniel pushed her, claiming that his daughter-in-law went crazy. The police came to the hospital. After hearing my and Daniel's statements, looking at the wound on my head and the medical report, they had no doubts. Margaret was charged with assaulting a pregnant woman. Serious offense. Up to 1 year in prison, 8 years. I returned home after 4 days in the hospital, exhausted and worn out. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the snowball flying toward me, Margaret's scream, my scream, the kick, the coldness of the wooden floor under my knees. Luna is fine. She still kicks every night to remind me. I'm still here. Mom, don't give up. Daniel took good care of me the first few days. He cooked, cleaned, played with Avery as if he was trying to make up for all the damage. But I noticed something else. The way he stared at his phone for longer. The way he sighed when he read the news about Margaret's arrest. One evening, as I lay on my side reading, Daniel entered the room and sat down on the edge of the bed. He was silent for a moment, then said, Mom broke 2 fingers, and the doctor said her neck is slightly strained. I didn't reply. I knew he was looking for an opening line. Emily, are you sure you want to see this case through to the end? I turned to face him. That question, are you really asking? Daniel looked at me, his eyes slightly red. I mean, Mom did wrong, but she's old. Can you let it go? Because she's really broken. She has nothing left. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. The kind of laugh of someone who has reached his limit. She almost killed our daughter. I don't think she meant to kill the child. She was just angry. She couldn't control herself, but she didn't mean to hurt the child. She kicked me in the stomach. While I was kneeling, blood was pouring from my head. I almost screamed. And you sit here defending that she didn't try? Daniel was silent. The next day I found out that he had contacted his mother before. Not only that, he also visited her while I was at home taking care of Avery, whose head still had stitches and whose stomach still hurt. I questioned. He confessed. I just wanted to see her. I needed to know how she was living, how lonely she was. What about me? Have you seen how I live? Luna's birthday arrives. I went to the hospital, this time with only Daniel. My sister stayed home to look after Avery. I thought, maybe this would be a chance to forgive, to reconnect. As he held my hand in the delivery room, I looked into his eyes and silently hoped, be my husband again, until I started pushing. And he whispered, loud enough for the nurse next to him to hear, when to do a DNA test. I froze. The labor pains were temporarily pushed aside by the heartbreaking. I turned my head and whispered, what did you just say? The nurse looked at him as if she had just heard something disgusting. The doctor raised his head. Sir, this is the delivery room. This is not the time to discuss personal matters. We need you to focus on your wife and baby. I burst into tears. In the middle of labor. I feel humiliated, naked, betrayed. Not just in front of the doctors, but in front of the unborn child and herself. I believed you, and you didn't believe me. After Luna was born, I wouldn't let Daniel hold her. I just held her, burying my face in my own sweaty hair. An hour later, he returned to the room and pulled out his phone. My mother wants to see pictures of her. I slapped the phone out of his hand. Go out. He left. 2 days later, my sister came to pick me and the children up and take me home. I make an appointment DNA test the next day. Result? Daniel is the biological father. Of course, I gave him the results. He burst into tears. I told him never doubted. I know you are mine. I replied, so why ask the doctor in the delivery room? He was silent. We went home after the DNA results came back. Daniel started acting like everything was fine. He bought flowers, cooked breakfast, and tried to play with Avery again. But I couldn't pretend. I could still hear him asking, when's the DNA test? Every time I closed my eyes. The question not only insulted me, it insulted Luna, who was less than 2 hours old. I tried to maintain a normal atmosphere for Avery's sake, but he has changed, not in the way one repents and grows up, but in the way a man who regrets being caught, not because it was wrong. One day, I was breastfeeding Luna when Avery, now almost 3, started crying because he couldn't watch Netflix. I was exhausted, but Daniel said immediately, Mom won't pay for Netflix because she's mad at Grandma. I looked at him, stunned. What the hell are you talking about? He shrugged. Didn't I tell you to cancel the account because your mom is sharing it? I forgot to pay, and you know it. The next day, as he was getting ready to leave, Daniel leaned down and kissed Avery on the forehead and said, Dad, go visit Grandma. I can't go because Mom doesn't like her. Avery snuggled into me, his eyes a mixture of sadness and confusion. Daniel continued, "You can't go, because Mom doesn't like her, and Dad either." I was speechless. After he left the house, Avery crawled into the corner of the room and pressed himself against the wall. I asked him what he was doing. He said softly, "You are being punished because you made me leave." I hugged my child and cried. That night I said to him, "You can't use my child to punish me. I just tell the truth. You are mentally abusing your child, even if he doesn't fully understand." He said nothing, went into his office, and slammed the door. I no longer recognized the husband who held Avery in tears the day she was born. I moved to my sister's house. My sister welcomed us with open arms. Luna was still tiny, and Avery was increasingly sensitive, jumpy, and sleepless. One morning, I looked at my two children sleeping next to each other and felt I did the right thing. A week later, I sent Daniel divorce papers he refused to sign. "I can't leave you. If I leave, I'll become a single mother." I replied, "I'm already a single mother, since you chose your mother over this family." Daniel did not visit his son for 3 weeks. He told me he didn't come just to be disrespected, that I took away his parental rights. I replied, "You took it away from me? I never closed the door. I just asked you not to hurt the child." On Facebook, Margaret, still at large, awaiting trial, posted a blurry photo with the caption, "They took my grandchildren away from me, but I know they will remember their grandmother." Someone commented, "A cruel daughter-in-law will pay the price sooner or later." I read, then quietly blocked each one. One early fall morning, I stood by the window, my hand on my belly, now more than 16 weeks, and heard Avery laughing loudly in the yard with my boyfriend, Liam. Luna lay peacefully in her bassinet, her lips moving as if she were dreaming something beautiful. Our little house had sunlight streaming into the kitchen, the smell of cinnamon rolls and fresh coffee filling the room. It was so peaceful it almost felt unreal. I used to think I couldn't love anyone again, that after Daniel my heart would be a wasteland, barren, suspicious, full of defensive walls. But then Liam came, no fuss, no fighting, just quietly there with me and the kids as if he had always belonged here. I haven't told Daniel that the baby I'm carrying is a boy. I'm not hiding it. Not ready. My sister said never to tell, that he didn't deserve to know, but part of me still believes that. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have Avery. I wouldn't have Luna. And in those rare moments when I soften, I wonder, will knowing this news make him realize anything? Probably not. I sat down to write a letter, not to send, just to release. "Daniel, my son is coming soon. You don't need to know its name. It won't be Carter. It will have no legacy to bear, nothing to prove. It just needs to grow in love. And me too." I folded the letter and put it in the drawer. Not every door needs to be slammed shut. Some doors, just leave them open to let the wind pass through. That night, as I was putting Luna to sleep, Avery ran in, climbed into bed, and whispered, "Mom, when is the baby coming out?" I smiled and stroked my child's hair. "When you're ready, just like Mom. The future is never certain, my daughter, but there is one thing you can always count on. Mom will be here, and we will write the next part of this story with our own hands."